My table is out of commission.
Oh, yeah.
So today we need a change of scenery for this review. So I've headed to my favorite local restaurant that you might not have heard about. It's this small indie chain that I'd like to support. Yes. Thank you. Check this out. This guy, Wyatt, ordered one McDouble with extra onions and 3 large fries. It's like, you know, oh, there's a lot of, you know, starch in this. I should balance that up with a single McDouble. Oh my god. Fucking, I did you a favor, Wyatt. Think you got enough ketchup, Wyatt? You think you got enough ketchup? Enough pepper and iodized salt? Fucking Wyatt. Anyways, let's get to the point of this video. Like a normal McDouble has plenty of onion in it already. Did you know McDonald's doesn't just make shitty toys? They also make shitty food. And shitty games too, I guess. There's a couple of series of McDonald's games that have been released. And so we will talk about each series of these individually in its own segment. Before we get into that, we have 3 kind of oddball things that aren't necessarily part of this series. So this first thing isn't actually from a McDonald's, but instead of positive numerals and integers, instead of positive integers, it also has negative integers, like -3. The other thing they have here is this mousetrap game, as it's branded on the side, and I'm not sure what makes this mousetrap. Alright, well fuck that, I don't fucking know. And the last thing we got here is one of those pie face games, but it's a miniature version, so like the actual appeal and charm of it is lost. It would be neat if they made like a whole mechanism that you could fold up, and you put like a Big Mac in your face, you get like a nice like mayo but you just set it like that, and then you twist the knob on the side. Oh, you know what? That's what this goes to. So you twist it backwards 3. Or, I don't fucking know. Something that's kind of neat is that there's a mechanism where it goes like, ah, yeah, 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 yeah. And you can sell all sorts of wacky phrases. It's a wacky fact. Now, we're not going to go into all of these because I don't have all the pieces to all of them. We're going to start with the most boring and get to the more interesting ones that have specific apparatus that make them work. I will say number 1 though that I quite like these and started collecting them before I even started this channel because they look really nice on your shelf if you have a lot of board games. It's like a personified version of these board games. I did really for real collect these because I have a bunch of doubles here too. So the least interesting one here to boot is Operation, because it's nothing like Operation. There's like a magnet and you're trying to get the pieces.
Doesn't work very well.
Doesn't appear to. I think the objective is actually to get the pieces into Cavity Sam here. So you're like doing experiments on him. Instead of helping him, you are torturing him. Next! Now, this next one here is Monopoly. Now, I have 2 Monopolies, but because I got these from thrift stores, neither of them had the... Spoke too soon. You get the microscopic board out and unfold it thusly, which they naturally have folded into 6th, like you do with a normal square. Now they've truncated a decent amount of the board here, so like there's only 1 chance space. I also just noticed that it doesn't actually tell you what you're supposed to do on the chance space. It's just there. It's not mentioned at all in the instructions. They're missing a road. All the Monopolies are now 2 properties instead of 3, but that's the thing that they've done in a lot of official Monopolies. Screw you, Oriental Avenue. That sounded really bad. They also have property cards and no money. So what you do is you just kind of break these up.
Oh, you're setting it up like Walmart paint.
There are still 8 Moopolops you can get, which is kind of neat that they maintained all of them from the original game. And here's how you make the die. So this is part of McDonald's effort to have less plastic in their game. So even though these are made of plastic, nothing in the actual game is plastic. So you just fold this into a cube. This is supposed to be for children to figure out, I guess, so it shouldn't be too hard. Alright, well, I've done something wrong. Something tells me it's not supposed to have these tabs sticking out. I'm only a 21-year-old man, guys. I can't figure out McDonald's toys. And the player's tokens are also very strange. So you get the hat, the dog, the car, and the duck. Everyone's favorite pieces, you know, if you're a psychopath that doesn't use the battleship. They've truncated each side from being 10 spaces to 7 spaces. So essentially, a 6 gets you all the way across the board. And also, an interesting feature is because there's only one die, the orange and red properties aren't as favored as they are in the original game, because there's an equal chance of each of these numbers landing in comparison to the original game, where a 7 is the most probable outcome, so 7 after the jail space, which is the most stopped on space, is the ideal spot to be, if you're, you know, property owner. Now, in this game, there's no money. All you do is when you land on it, you just have the property, and then the next player goes. You go until all the properties are owned, and then whoever has the most value in properties wins. There's no negotiation or trading or money or bankruptcy or anything, so it's really a really slimmed down version of the game. And that's got to accommodate the fact that you're playing this at McDonald's with like a 30-minute time frame at best. But even so, there are still 16 properties that need to be collected for the game to be over. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to take a long damn time, especially if it's only 2 people, to collect all the properties. You can't even mortgage them. It just says property card in horizontally for some reason. Okay, so the one that I was talking about that doesn't have the pieces to it is the Game of Life. So the only thing that I want to show off that I think is kind of cool is that there's a semi-authentic replica of the spin wheel as opposed to a wheel that doesn't spin, of course, of the spinner in the Game of Life, which is pretty neat. There's no gambling in this one, and it's heavily simplified. I'll show some pictures of it here. But I don't have it, so I can't really tell you my opinion of it. The next one here is Trouble. Now, I've shown this off in a previous video to make a point, but I will do it again because I'm just Jesus Christ himself. So this is more simple of a game than Monopoly. There's not as many moving parts or mechanics to it. So it's a pretty earnest transcription of the game. It's just, you got pegs here that are discs instead of the plastic pegs. And there's only 3 of them instead of 4. You pop the Pop-O-Matic until you get your 6 or a 1, and you move out, and because you got a 6, you get to roll again. I'm being defeated by the creases in the board. I like it, actually. It is like, even though it's super rough and dirty, it is the full experience of Trouble. Like, it's just, the pieces are made out of cardboard and paper, so... And I do like, for the 4 cents they spent on making this, they included an authentic Pop-O-Matic. That's really neat. Next one I've got here is Twister. So on the inside, we got a mini Twister mat, where you're like, oh, how the hell am I supposed to stand on that? It's like, well, look, you dumb idiot. It says a finger twister. And on the other side, you have the official finger twister finger spinner. Spin the spinner, and then you do the matching instructions. Put your ring finger on blue, your pinky on yellow, and it actually, you know, is a pretty good transcription of like the dexterity and struggles of spinner, like having to move without having any of your knuckles or fingertips touch the ground. And when you're playing with another person, you're getting all up in there, and then you hold hands and make out. That's pretty neat. It's also kind of neat because it's Twister branded, but it's like a different sort of game, so you don't need to pull out a whole Twister mat to play it. You can just play it on a tabletop. Next one here is Battleship. Now, the way that this works, each side folds out like this. And come in. It comes with a pad of paper. You put one blank grid on these little hooks on the inside, and then you decide which ship layout you would like to put it down there. And I guess if you really wanted to, you could also just use the other side to do your own ships. It includes its own official Battleship branded pencil, and despite the grid being slightly smaller, it's still a accurate miniaturization of Battleship. This is like very neat and fun, and because it's trying to accommodate like a 30-minute McDonald's visit, it's quite accurate. So you just make your markings on the pencil. If you get a hit, I guess you do a circle up here if it's a miss, and then you're trying to sink the other person's ships. I mean, you know what the fuck Battleship is. And the last one we've got here in the series is Hungry Hungry Hippos. Now this is the sickest one because it's a miniature actual replica of Hungry Hungry Hippos between two people. They can actually play Hungry Hungry Hippos. There was the game, there it went. Very simple, very brief process. There's just something so satisfying to me about miniaturizing like a board game, especially, in a way that's still functional, too. Like, I'm a huge sucker for those, like, keychain board game things, but those aren't that practical. This is entirely practical and totally valid as a product. I think that they should sell this on its own as, like, a keychain Hungry Hungry Hippos. Sorry, folks, I'm a big idoid. There's also a Connect 4 one. There's paper tiles that go in the back here. You just shove them in the top here, and they work like the checkers. The board's obviously smaller, which changes a lot of the strategy in Connect 4, but that's a thing that they do in a lot of Connect 4 variation. For example, if you purchase Connect 4 Shots, it only has a 5x4 grid, and a lot of Connect 4 basketball games and arcades do the same thing too. Unfortunately, McDonald's patrons seemed to hate this game because even though I have 2 copies of it, neither of them have pieces.
One of those was mine, and I threw them out. And I remember throwing them out, and I'm glad I did.
You're a son of a bitch.
I know.
This is history.
What about her story, huh? Consider the women.
So now let's rank them. From worst to best, we have Monopoly here. Now, I quite like Monopoly as a game, but there's nothing unique about this. It's just cardboard in a plastic casing. Like, the character design isn't even that cool or interesting. The next one is the Game of Life. It suffers from a lot of the same problems as the Monopoly one, but at least it has this cool replica of the spinner that just edges it out above Monopoly. The Game of Life is also a better game than Monopoly. And then the next one that comes over that is Connect 4, because you can actually play it as Connect 4, but I'll de-rank it for 2 reasons. Number one, the Connect 4 toy worked so bad that it came with a pusher tool that you push the checkers down, because they did not work consistently at all. And number 2, because it's smaller, it's not a totally accurate transcription of the game. Next is Battleship. So far it is the most accurate, and it's the most elegant transcription so far too, because, you know, getting rid of all the plastic pieces and all the plastic ships and stuff and printing it on paper is honestly really clever. I think it's a great solution. The only reason why it's in the middle here is because they did reduce the grid size from 10 to 8. They compromised the gameplay a little bit. And also, like, it's Battleship. Like you expect me to, like, sing Battleship's praises. The bronze medal goes to Trouble here.
Why does it look like a 4-year-old fucking made the logo?
Because a 4-year-old in Slavikistan probably made it. It has tri-point security screws on it. I just noticed they do not want you knowing what is in Trouble. Like I said, I like that it is basically the exact game, just miniaturized using paper pegs. And it has the official apparatus of the Pop-O-Matic too. Those are both very elegant and interesting. Silver medal goes to Twister, because I think it's an improvement over the original Twister, which is quite an arduous game to set up, in my opinion. This is like a different variation of it that has its own challenge unique to it as well. And how would I not give the first one the gold medal to Hungry Hungry Hippos, because I think it speaks for itself. It's a miniaturized plastic mechanism of a, game that doesn't really work that well as the big version. And this is the second series that I'm prepared to talk about. I believe this came out in 2022? Yes, I did it. I'm smart. And it's just 5 games this time instead of 8. And also, like I said earlier, everything's paper and cardboard this time. There's no, collectability of making them personified games or anything. So, believe it or not, these don't get displayed on my shelf or anything. I only own these because I bought them for this video. You guys are so spoiled. First one we're going to talk about here is Henga. Now, from the shape of the box, you might assume that it's a bunch of mini Henga blocks in the case here, kind of like what you would see at Dollar Tree. But, no. But the problem with making Henga blocks small like that is that, any slight idiosyncrasy with moving the blocks or anything topples the whole tower over. It's really hard to actually, get in there and fuck with it. So they did the next most logical step. Every single block you have to fold together yourself. And in case you were wondering, there are 18 blocks in total. The fucking McDonald's fries are going to be cold before you even finish this. Something you might have noticed already, if you guys are any level of observant at all, is that they have dares printed on them. Either dares or, interrogative questions about your personal life. you had 3 wishes, what would they be? More wishes! I don't know, what would be a funny wish? Leave it in the comments what a funny wish would be. I'm gonna make you guys be funny for me. I'm not gonna put any more effort in this shit. You think you deserve it? I bought this bullshit for you guys. You guys don't even appreciate it. Alright, this is done. And also, because these are folded down, you know, obviously, when they're actually constructed, they do not go back in the box. You know, because I was always frustrated when I was playing Jenga, how the pieces would go back in the box nice and neat. So I'm glad that for each of these, you have to deconstruct the Jenga blocks. Now, I'm not saying I could have thought of a more elegant transcription of Jenga necessarily, but it's a strange choice to even do Jenga if this is the way you have to do it. And also, because it only comes with 18 blocks, the tower at the end of the game is, like, not very tall at all. You need 2 of them to even resemble an actual game of Jenga. And what's a shame is that this is probably one of the better games in this series of McDonald's toys. So, yeah. Because they've made some strange choices with what board games they want to adapt. Like Jenga and then Operation, which is an electronic game. Both times they've adapted Operation, which is like a unique game that is inherent to its design. You can't reduce it any more than it is. Well, let's see how they've done it. It's just kind of like a lottery game. So what you do is you put the pegs in like this. So there are different symbols on each of these. I think these are supposed to be clamps, but they look like locks with like half a Stussy on them. So you're supposed to put 3 of these in each of these slots. And what players are just trying to do is they're trying to collect a full set of all the funatomy parts. So player 1 starts and they draw the apple. It rejected my hand. The next player would go and they draw and they get a noose, I think. I don't know. Oh, no, it's a bone. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. Riveting. Like, who's in the lead here? It's, like, not even a little bit like Operation. Like, if this didn't have Cavity Sam printed on it and Operation printed all over it, just in case you forget, because I can see why you would, there's like, nothing that they're even drawing from Operation to make it Operation-y. And also, I just gotta say that, like, this box is, like, totally useless. What? Like, why? Oh, should I remind you guys that there are 11 total funatomy parts, so this game could go on a really damn long time. That's not even really that interesting. Game number 3 is Monopoly, and this one is slightly different, so it has a more rigid board by having puzzle pieces that come together right now over me. However, the layout of the board is still the same as the one we saw last time. In fact, I'm sure you can have like Monopolyception. I don't know, there's a joke here somewhere. I don't know. Is that even funny? I'll probably do some editing or something. Or I'll just leave all this in. But other than the puzzle pieces, this is the exact same as the Monopoly we saw previously. So there's no money, there's no mortgages. The only difference is that the previous die we saw had numerals on it, and this one has pips. So it has a die with pips, and the pieces are plastic molded now instead of the paper whatevers. It's like, I guess this is better, but also why'd they make them half the size of the board? Like, it's like, oh, what space are you on? Who knows? It's taking up fucking 3/4 of the board. I also like that you can just own a Monopoly McDonald's property, apparently. That's just an option. I can be just like John McDonald. Also, because they chose literally the slimmest form factor that this could fit, this die you need to break down after, for the numerous family game nights you'll be having with this, you need to be breaking it down each time, and it doesn't like it. But sometimes people won't give you what you want, and you just gotta take it, even when they don't want to. And that's a lesson from me to you, if you take nothing else away from this episode. Sometimes no means yes. Should I keep that in? It's Amy's fault if you get offended by that. Number 4 is Connect 4. And this is... Maybe you guys can now see what I was trying to explain earlier. And this is basically the same as the other Connect 4 that we saw, except I actually have the pieces to this one this time. So you assemble the board like this. It's one-sided, the other side is like got a privacy wall. Stop cheating, you're looking at my answers. Player 1 will go first. They may decide to go in the middle here. And they get that checker down there, you just kind of... Here's the thing, is that I've criticized previous versions of Connect 4 for having you have to like place a sticker or something, because the gravity is like integral to the strategy of Connect 4. So I like that they've transcribed this in a way where it still plays with the same physics of Connect 4, where you can still stack checkers on top of checkers, like that, and it works like maybe 40% of the time, and that 40% of the time is a good time. This is the best one so far. And the final one here is the most robust out of all of them. It's got a lot of pieces in it, and it's got a very thorough game to it, too. So it is Guess Who? McDonald's. Now, I've brought this up before, but I think it's a neat reduction of the original game. So instead of 24 Guess Who characters you have to guess from, you just guess from 16. But the way it works is you just separate these all out. Because we've talked about the dollar store version of Guess Who, where you can't even play it because you can't hide your answers from the other player. So this is the way that they implemented the privacy aspect of Guess Who. So you take the pieces of paper and you put it in these cardboard slots. Pick your character and you hide it under your privacy card here. I assume that's what this is for. I don't know what other diegetic purpose it could have. And when you're eliminating people that do not match the description of the question you asked, you tap it like this. I think that that's pretty neat. It like mimics perfectly the closing of the doors in Guess Who. It's a short enough game with only 16 cards instead of 24, and believe it or not, this actually folds back down into the original packaging it comes in, unlike half the fucking games on this list. This is fully playable, and that is definitely the best of both worlds when you're getting toys from McDonald's, is that it's both playable and has novelty to it in how it's playable. Now it's ranking time once again. From worst to best, we have Operation, because it's not even fucking Operation. Next one we have is Monopoly, because, like, it's just the same as the one last time. I ranked Monopoly pretty low last time, but, you know, at least the Operation that was there had some semblance of resemblance. But at least the Operation I was talking about last time had some resemblance to the original game, which is the only reason why it beat out Monopoly. But, you know, Monopoly's better because this has some resemblance to the original game. It's just about as good as the one that we saw last time. Jenga is ostensibly Jenga, and so if you get 2 Jengas, you can actually get a tower that's like a decent height that you can play the game with, as if you're actually not a poor person playing with cardboard. Silver medal goes to Connect 4, because I like that it's still very playable, and yeah, it's very authentic to the original game. And then Guess Who? Because this is like basically just the original game, 99% uncompromised. The only compromise there is to the gameplay is less characters, but that just makes the game shorter. And that's my thoughts on Monopolops, Monopoly, Gappa Deepada. Thanks for watching.